Hi friends, today we are going to talk about federated identity pattern. So from federated identity pattern, first of all, let's see what identity is. Let's say you are building an application, this is your service, and users want to use your service. So in the very basic stages, you are not going to have user-based authentication. You can just expose the service. When you start building custom features or you want to have user-based access, so what you can do is, what you generally do is, you create an code for authentication inside your application, and then users are able to access using username and passwords. And let's say this is an organization and there are multiple such services which this organization maintains. So this can be Jenkins for deployments. It can be Bitbucket or Git for code versioning, repository versioning. So as and when all these services are developed, they keep on adding their own authentication mechanisms, and when more and more services are developed, they each have their authentication mechanism, and administrators who are basically managing all this infrastructure will have a hard time maintaining access and control over the authentications which each service is provided, which is each service is providing. So instead of having multiple authentication in each services, what you can do is you can create a single authentication service, and each of the services, instead of having their own authentication mechanism, the user is authenticating with the single auth service, and this is going to give username password, and this is going to give it a token, and then using this token this user is going to use different services. And if you want to achieve greater granularity in the access this user should have, in the token you can have information like S1 based permissions like read, and S2 write, or whatever level of permissions you have created in your service. So this user, when it provides the token, then this service is going to take the token and find out whatever claims or permissions this user has, U1 has, and then it is going to allow this user to function according to those permissions. So this user has read, so this user will be able to only read the data, it will not be able to change the data. And for service S2, it has write permissions. So this user will, when it provides the token, it knows that service 2 will authenticate that token either directly through JWT based authentication, or it can basically check that token from the central auth service, and then it can provide functionalities to the given user. So this is the case when you are working in a single organization. But suppose you are working in some organization, and uh, you can have a third party auth service as well. And your services can integrate with this third party auth service, and users can just authenticate to this auth service, and then the token that is provided, let's consider it T is provided. This T is provided to the applications that you're trying to access, and since they have already integrated with this third party auth service, they know that the token provided by this auth service is good. They will validate that token, they will find out the permissions that are signed with that token, and they will allow the user to use their service according to the permissions that are present in the token. So one example of this auth service is social identity. Like you must have seen places where you are given functionalities like login by Google, login with Google, or login with Facebook. Here you can see, here's an example where the site Canva is providing functionality to either log in with Facebook or log in with Google. It also provides its own sign up with email functionality. In this way, they are using a single provider or multiple providers, and they are trusting multiple providers along with their own, so that user does not have to do authentication again and again. They don't have to remember the password. It provides an ease in login and user experience. Let's see another use case. For example, you have your application hosted in some cloud, and this is the service, software as a service application which is hosted in the cloud, and this is your company infrastructure. Your company has different people, different employees, and you want to provide access to this SaaS application, as a service application, to employees of your company. For example, let's say this is Slack. You want your employees to access your company's Slack channel or Slack domain. So what you can do is, one way is your employees are directly authenticating with Slack and they are working. And another way, but it is going to create problems for your company's IT department, because how are they going to manage access to the employees? How are they going to, and if there are multiple software as a service applications, for example, they are also using maybe a Bitbucket, enterprise Bitbucket or Git, and they need, some of the employees need to access this enterprise Bitbucket, and they are they are authenticating directly via Bitbucket or Git. So the company's IT department is going to have a hard time managing access to all the cloud providers or all the external services they are using, and even for the services that are hosted by the company itself. So this is service one. Maybe this is a self-hosted Jenkins. So what you can do is, you can create your own identity provider, and then all the employees will have to authenticate from the identity provider. Then it is going to give back the token. Then most of the cloud providers or software as a service, they have their own federated identity service. Like this identity provider, they have their federated identity provider. When you were basically integrating with this SaaS service, like when you were integrating or buying this Slack license, you had an agreement that Slack is going to authenticate using your company's identity provider or Active Directory. This has authentication details, claims details, or permission and roles for all the employees and services. So when users authenticate to your company's identity service, it is given a token. Then with this token, the employees or the request goes to the company's or Slack's identity provider, which knows that this is a valid token. It is going to recheck that token with the identity provider, whether it is valid or not, whether what permissions are associated with this token, and then it is going to give its own token. And then the users request Slack with the token provided by Slack. So here you can see, first there was a yellow token which was provided by the company. This was the user and password that was provided. When making request to the company's identity provider, you were giving user ID, employee ID, or anything like that. Then you were given a token, which you took this token to Slack's identity provider. Slack's identity provider has your Active Directory listed as a trusted provider. So it checks that it is a valid token or not. Then it provides its own token, which is colored in red. Then this red token is received by your employee's browser or application, and this token is then taken to Slack, through which it knows that it is a valid token because it was provided by its own identity provider. It will validate that token. One more thing is, this identity provider will provide some access or permissions. When you take this token to the Slack's identity provider service, it is going to give its own set of permissions, which are basically to which are basically unique to the Slack ecosystem. So for example, they can do they have admin rights or not, do they have anything else or not, any specific permissions in the Slack ecosystem. They change the permissions given by the your company's identity provider to Slack's identity provider, and then user's browser or application is going to take that Slack's token to the Slack service. Similarly, this can be happened. Git is integrated. You take a token from your identity provider, then that token is returned. It goes to Git's identity provider service. It gives then Git identity provider service give its own token. Let's suppose it gives its green token, then green token is taken and then sent to the Git service, where it knows that it has following permissions. So this is how you are handling different services in a federated system. You have only a single provider. Here in this case, you have this identity provider, which was managing through which you were managing access for your employees in different services. They can be your internal services, or they can be your external services like Slack, GitHub, Bitbucket, etc. and etc. Now, having a single authentication or identity provider is going to create a challenge because it becomes a single point of failure. All these services are using this authentication provider. And if this service goes down, then it is going to impact all these services which are using this authentication provider. So high availability, robustness, and all the other cloud terms or cloud terminologies are applicable to this authentication provider also, and it should be very high available and robust application. Let's see some of the challenges that you can face when you're using federated authentication mechanisms. So as we have seen, here you can see Google and Facebook. For example, let's say this is your application which is being authenticated using Google and Facebook. This is your app, and this is Facebook server and this is Google server. So when your user goes clicks on Google, then the request goes to Google to authenticate that user, whether it is valid or not. Then Google returns a token. Then this token is taken to your application, and you basically open that token or get details for that token either by calling google.com, or you can basically decrypt that token using pre-configured details, and you can get what details are present in that token. So in general, these open identity providers or social logins that we call, they provide very less information. For example, they can either provide email, and some security conscious social logins like Microsoft does not provide email as well. So what happens is, when the application is being set up or user is creating the account, and he tries to create an account using sign up with Google. What happens is Google will provide a unique ID during sign up, and then you will have to ensure that your application is storing that unique ID somewhere along with the user ID, your application's user ID. So you will have user ID and then provider and ID, right? So next time when user comes, what is going to happen is when he clicks login with Google, it is going to come with a UID. You are going to get that unique ID. Then you will have to check your database whether what is the user ID corresponding to that Google's UID. You will get these two details, then you can get the user details, and now you know that since these two details are valid, this is a valid user and this is the valid user and it is this user ID. So you can basically customize your application. You can basically know that current user is a valid user and its user ID is user1. So this is how federated identity works. So let's try to summarize this pattern following how the authentication works. So user will provide username and password to the identity provider and service access security token service. Then this identity provider security token service is going to respond with a particular token. Then this user is going to take that token to its service, to the service. Then this service is going to basically check whether this token is valid or not, and whether and what permissions does this tokens user having this token has, and then it is going to allow access to this particular user according to the permissions that are present in the token. And if it is a two-way communication, then service can authenticate that token from the identity provider as well in the middle steps. So this is a crude working of your federated identity pattern, and this can be used by multiple services. So if you have another service, same thing can happen. He can take this token and then he can get the access. Similarly, it is going to happen for other services as well. Here he doesn't have to do authentication in every service. That's the basic advantage. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know your comments if I missed out anything. Let's discuss it. Thank you and have a nice day.